Hey, Kendrick just opened his mouth.
So I sat the Ucat today, and I did not get a 3,600. Now, through this video, I'll be showing you guys exactly how I failed to get a 3,600. So I'll just put up my scores real quick. This is what I got. This was my result of today, the test I just sat. And I'll just go through some general advice, but more so what I think was the biggest factor in me jumping from 2,800 averaging mocks to getting 3,200 on the day. Now, I'll just start with the sections itself. So verbal reasoning, this clearly was my worst section, and I'm not the most inclined to give advice on a section I did so terrible in, but if there is something for me to say, it is possible to read that entire stem in 40 or so seconds and then spend maybe 20 seconds each doing the rest of the questions, okay? Don't ever be discouraged by the length of the passage. Like, of course, skip it if you don't want to read it. I think it is a much more surefire way of getting a good score to just read the entire passage. Now, obviously, I didn't do that good, so maybe take that with a grain of salt, but yeah, I actually think you should, if you're like beginning, like, you should definitely identify which questions you want to do. Like, my approach was, if the question had an obvious, like, leadway to it, like, perhaps, all baboons enjoy monkeys, wait, what? All baboons enjoy bananas because, and then it just gives you your 4 options. I would like to answer one of these questions instead of, what would the author most likely agree with? And it's like 4 options that could be anywhere throughout the text, okay? So I would just flag and skip ones that just said, that didn't have a clear leeway to it. Okay, on to decision making. So this was one of my more confident subsections, or at least more confident than verbal reasoning, and I was pretty confident I could get an 800 on the day, but I didn't, so I guess it's a bit disappointing, but I'll still go through what I think is the best approach and how to target some questions. So, the starting 5 syllogisms. These 5 syllogisms, you just have to have the logic unlocked. You need to know whether all monkeys are animals. If some monkeys are not an animal, does that mean some monkeys are I don't know why I'm talking about monkeys so much, but it's just, like, you just have to have that logic unlocked. That specific example, don't take my word for it. Just because some X is not Y does not mean some X is Y. So, sorry, don't listen to me. I don't know if that's true or not. But you just have to, things like that. You can't be like me and just not know what it is. Otherwise, you'll be there debating for a full minute on one stem, and before you know it, you're running out of time for the rest of the questions. So make sure you have your logic unlocked. I would definitely go to the official question bank and just follow whatever they use there. If it ever contradicts itself, it's kind of tough luck, but yeah. Now, moving on to the logic puzzles. If you're bad at them, lots of people love to skip and come back, and it works for many people. I won't go into my own strategy because I feel like it's not that helpful. It's not that helpful. I feel like when I do a logic puzzle, I just look at it, I just write everything down, and before I know it, my answer's in front of me. Moving on, those narrative-based syllogisms, these are easier, and this is like an important thing to say. Every question won't take the same amount of time. Like, in my test today, I think I probably spent way too long on all of them, like maybe 2 minutes each, but that was okay, okay? I got really stressed in my decision-making exam because I finished all the narrative syllogisms. I was up to, like, the Venn diagrams, and then I only had, like, 7 minutes left with 9 questions, and you want, usually, the basis is 1 minute per question. So I was under time, I was stressing, I was thinking, I already sacked my verbal reasoning because I'm terrible at it. I'm about to sack decision-making, my scores are going to turn trash. But before I knew it, I answered 5 questions in like 3-4 minutes, and then I was back on track, and I managed to answer every question. Moving on to quantitative reasoning. This section is obviously, I guess, our most prided section. Perfect score 900. Now, I never even answered every question before in a mock test. Like, this was a second, I guess, time that I even managed to get, like, 32 out of 36, okay? What changed on the day was the questions weren't as hard. Yeah, no, I'm not a mathematical genius or prodigy. The questions were just a bit easier. So, yeah, don't be discouraged by your mock scores is my only advice, and make sure you know what you're doing in all of them. Yeah, they're not lying when they say it's year 9, year 8 math. It's just bum 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 bum. Moving on to the basically last section of the test, abstract reasoning. Now, I was pretty confident for this. I thought I could get a 900, and I got close enough. But this score does not reflect how I felt in the moment. Going through, it's very daunting to think about. You have 12 minutes for 50 questions. Okay, it's very daunting to think about. And then when you first start out, it's just you can barely tell what they even want you to look at. It's just a bunch of shapes and a bunch of lines. But as you keep gaining experience, you will eventually build up a collection of, yeah, you'll just get a lot of experience. You'll develop the instinct to see, look for what and what to do. People like to use acronyms, but personally, I never use them. I'll actually show you something I did. Okay. I don't know if this will be like upside down for you, but okay, if you can see that patterns, and then I just have it locked down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what this was I would memorize. Okay, I never actually did, but I planned on memorizing patterns based on what I saw. So if I saw only shapes in a set, I would just begin to think, okay, what's the next thing I see in the set? Oh, I see colors? Okay, these are all the patterns of colors that I've experienced. And then I would try and memorize, it's like, I go stem to stem, I link it together. I go, this link, next link, until I get to the end. Now, to be honest, it was really more just like experience that carried me and stuff, instead of this memorizing thing. But I do think this is a good strat. Do try like acronyms like sperm, RS, rose, like it's kind of zesty, or scans, but only 5 acronyms, it's not that helpful. Make sure you flag and skip. If you can't see a pattern in 20 seconds, it's flag and skip. Don't spend any more time and come back to it later. Once I finished everything, I had skipped 3 sets, so that's 15 questions, and I only had 1 minute 50 seconds left. Now, 1 minute 50 seconds is not exactly the most ideal for 3 sets. You would want 3 minutes for 3 sets, okay? I went back to my first set. 1 minute, okay, 50 seconds. For 50 seconds, I stared at it and I didn't see a thing, okay? And then I realized, no, I started guessing just based off instinct until I saw it. I saw the pattern while guessing. So I went back and I just went tick, 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 tick. I sped run it. I saw the pattern. I went to the next pattern. This was definitely the hardest pattern of my set. This one was like, I'm surprised I managed to get this one. In like milliseconds, like my heart was racing. I was like thinking, if I mess up AR now, my score is finished. Boom. Just milliseconds, it just popped into my head. And I just went do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then I was on the final set, but too bad I only had 50 seconds when I started locking in. So I didn't actually have time to finish my final set. So I just guessed A. And fortunately for me, maybe all my guesses were right. Maybe I got everything else right and got maybe 1 or 2 correct from my guesses. Either way, we managed to get a pretty good score. Finally, let's talk about situational judgment. Now, obviously I didn't do that good in situational judgment either, but considering I didn't touch it once, I didn't practice this section once, I think getting an average result is still pretty good. And I don't have much tips to give, and they probably wouldn't be that good either, but if you're like me and you're not going to study for it and you just need something, I think a good guideline is, once you get to that section where it's very appropriate but not ideal, inappropriate but not the worst, and very inappropriate, typically it's just very appropriate is it resolves the problem fully. Appropriate is it resolves the problem to an extent, but there's still problems. What is it called? The next one. Inappropriate. It doesn't make things better, but it doesn't make things worse. And the last one is like actively worsens the situation, okay? And I think I got most of my marks on choosing very inappropriate, okay? So it's just like, you see a lady, like, what do you call it? You see a lady crying about breaking the news of her terminal illness, and it says how appropriate it is to tell her, deal with it, you stupid bitch. Okay, obviously she's very inappropriate. Sorry, I don't even know why I said this part, but yeah. Thank you. If you guys are getting ready to do the UCAT, just know your mock scores are not a representation of what you'll get on the day. Just maybe add 400, 500 onto your mock scores, and yeah, definitely come in with a confident mentality. Like, everyone in my waiting room were legit, like, looking like this, stressed as hell. There was a parent, literally, like, there was a parent stressed for her own child. Hopefully they did well. But yeah, I came in, I was watching TikTok on my phone. I actually took a selfie as well, but I didn't. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, good luck, everyone.